Hey, so I want to do a quick video, but it's not an easy video, or it's not an easy video for you. Um, I see there's a lot of people that have specific projects that they want to raise capital for. So they've got their own startup or their own fund that they're raising capital for. Um, and of course, when you're trying to raise that money, there's time pressure. You've got other investors, like you've got team. Everyone wants you to raise the money quickly, and so there's this kind of urgency that you've got towards raising the capital. And what I'm going to ask you to do is really, really difficult, but it's really, really important because when somebody goes out and they give off this energy of needing the capital and needing the capital quickly, it just repels investors. And so, what I want you to do in your next investor conversation is to think of the project that you've got as just one of 10 projects that you've got. Now, this is a very difficult mental hurdle to do well, but it's really, really important because if you thought of that project, say you're raising money for a property, and normally what you do is you meet a potential investor that invests in real estate and say, like, oh, I've got this great opportunity and it's this double story and it's all this stuff, and you go into your pitch. What I want you to do instead is to think of that property as just one deal of 10 that you've got lined up. And in order to put the best deal in front of the investor, you have to ask questions. You have to find out what they're looking for. And so this brings me on to the second part, which is in any conversation that you have with an investor, there's a bit of a game going on about who controls the call or who controls the meeting. Now, the typical way that investors control the meeting is you come in, they fold their arms, they go, right, show me the deck. And immediately you're on the back foot and you're trying to sell to them. This is a horrible place to be, but most of us don't know how to get out of that situation. And so we just switch into this like mode of going through a 20-page deck. By now the investor has lost interest anyway. Like, unless your first slide has done something incredible, which they very rarely do, they're already thinking about what they're going to have for lunch. So the meeting is lost. You need to control the conversation, and what I mean by that is you need to be the person that's in control is the one asking questions. And so when you meet an investor, you need to be asking questions. Now, if all of your questions just relate to your project, it's not a particularly good conversation. Instead, you need to be asking questions from the point of view that you are a really well-connected deal maker. You're plugged into this global network. You've got access to tons of deals. You've got one particular deal that you're thinking about right now that might be of interest to them, but you're not even going to pitch it to them until you find out what they need. And so you'll often get into a game with investors where they will say, so tell me about your business. And then you need to push back and say, more than happy to do that, love to do that. Before I do that, tell me about the sort of investments that you currently do. And they say, well, yeah, okay, but I'll tell you. Tell me a bit about your business first. You go, all right. What was the last company that you invested in? You need to get them talking. You need to get them answering your question. Once they start talking about their last investment, then you can do the follow-up questions like, well, why did you invest in that company? What made it so attractive? Why do you particularly look for this? What sort of time horizons are you looking for? Now, what you might find out during that meeting or that call is that actually what they're looking for is not what you're going to present. And that's, a little bit of you dies and you go, oh, that's very sad. But turn it around. Because this deal that you've got in the back of your mind is actually only one of 10 deals. And so you can get to the end of that conversation and say, well, look, the deal that I was going to present to you, I don't think it's a good match for you. So I'm not going to waste your time. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go back to my network and I'm going to see if I can find you a deal that would be more appropriate to what you want. Now, what you do when you take that approach, that's difficult, you have to swallow your pride. But when you take that approach, you maintain the relationship and you build a trusted relationship. That investor now knows that you're not going to waste their time with irrelevant deals. It stops being transactional and it starts being a relationship that you're building in the best interests of the investor. Now, look, I said at the beginning, this is hard. This is incredibly hard. This is, I know this stuff, and I still really, really struggle with it because we love our projects and we want to share our projects, and we kind of have this idea that, you know, even if they're not the right investor, if we're passionate about it, they might tell other people. And look, you can have that conversation. You can say, look, the deal that I was going to present to you definitely isn't right for you. But if you know people that are investing in real estate projects that match this criteria, I'd love to have that introduction. And that's a very easy thing for them to do. They would rather do a quick introduction than waste the next half hour listening to a pitch they're not interested in. So that's today's video, is try and think of your deal, the deal that you're raising money for, as just one of multiple deals that you have access to because you're a guild connected deal maker, rainmaker, and make sure that you're always controlling the conversation so that you can get the most information from the investor. I hope you find that useful.